is just fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome back to Omegon 2 Electric Boogaloo. For another video, I thought we'd discuss cultural appropriation. And to do this, we're going to start with the definition. According to Google, cultural appropriation is the inappropriate or unacknowledged adoption of an element or elements of one culture or identity by members of another culture or identity. This can be controversial when members of a dominant culture appropriate from minority cultures. That, of course, is subjective depending on where you are in the world, and the representation that would indicate someone to be a minority over another. But since this is a very and clearly westernized definition, we are going to use it as a reason to shit on white people thing, because that's what it is, let's be honest here. And I will insert my disclaimer now. The idea of cultural appropriation being used as a negative, to me, is inaccurate and quite ill thought out. There is nothing wrong with appropriating another culture as long as you're not insulting the culture. How one chooses to appropriate and then represent, of course, can be deemed insulting because it could be considered subjective, which makes this a tad tricky. And as things in many instances are subjective, these arguments become very, very boring and very, very circular, very fast. So for this video, we're now going to insert Rebecca Gormley. Rebecca Gormley rose to, let's call it, fame on the TV show Love Island, and during a recent holiday to Dubai, posted some pictures onto Instagram that have caused a bit of a stir. This is a picture of Rebecca Gormley prior to going to Dubai. If you watched my recent exhibition of stupid people and comments I made about Madonna, the next part's going to make a lot of sense. This is a picture of Rebecca Gormley on her holiday. When we put it side by side with the picture you earlier saw, something doesn't look quite right, almost like somebody has darkened their skin. I wonder if that happens when you're in Dubai, when you're tanning. But I could be wrong there. Maybe a concerted effort was made to darken one's skin. But that's not the cultural appropriation aspect. The claims of cultural appropriation have been hyper-focused to her hair, the braids, which I thought looked fantastic, to be honest. But that's just me. The reason why is because many people gatekeep on this one because they don't know history. The history of braids can be traced back to almost every single culture in existence and go back as far as 30,000 years, possibly further if history can be traced far enough. But as I mentioned, gatekeeping, this is invariably considered an African thing, going back 5,000 years. I don't care for this idea of gatekeeping at all. Oh, but this is our culture. You're white. You don't get this culture. You have no culture. Which is usually used as an excuse and an argument for why white people cannot use braids, or they cannot have things that come from other cultures. The problem you have is because you're gatekeeping, you're not allowing your culture to change, evolve, adapt. It can be honored and respected. It really can be. But to claim ownership of something means you are just as regressive as other cultures that do the same thing, which is basically all cultures really. Rebecca Gormley posted this to her Instagram page, and comments underneath read as follows. Love the cultural appropriation. Questionable hair choice. Girl, no. Cultural appropriation though? This is appropriation. Take them out. Take them out, girl. If you don't, then your scalp will do the work for you. That hair is not working for you. Please stick to your own culture, thanks. Very uncomfortable, W this. I'm now going to insert why I mentioned Madonna earlier because this might not make sense otherwise. We are usually influenced by those around us. So who we spend our time with influence our fashion, influences our behavior, influences how we speak. Part of me believes this is less cultural appropriation and more appreciation, even though I don't believe appropriation to be inherently negative in this context or in many contexts in fact. So what she is doing is appreciating a culture that may come from her partner. Those that accuse of cultural appropriation and say stick to your own lane don't fundamentally understand how those around us influence how we behave, what we become, how far we go. So this is a picture of Rebecca Gormley with her ex-boyfriend, Biggs Chris. On more than one occasion, Rebecca Gormley was seen wearing braids in some manner while in the relationship with Biggs. There is another accusation though with all of this. not just cultural appropriation, but there's a skin color related one more commonly known as blackfishing. The term is used when someone adopts makeup or styles, hair included, to appear like they have black heritage, akin to that of Rachel Dolezal, Martina Big, Sean King. They are the more noteworthy of the blackfishing community. In the case of Rebecca Gormley, this is not the first time she's been accused of all of this. Back in 2020, because she was accused of this all back then, she decided to point out that while going through requests and getting all the messages, informing her that she was being disrespectful to people's culture. She wears braids all the time, which does not mean that she is being disrespectful, and that she is just being herself, which is the right attitude to have, and if you don't like that, sorry. Again though, accusation of cultural appropriation as if this is in some manner a pejorative. Stop gatekeeping. Arguments like this, positions like this, regressive mentalities like this are asinine, and you know it. And just as an additional thing, although I'm sure it doesn't give her a pass anyway, when she was seeing Biggs, he chimed in the video where she defended herself back in 2020 by saying, "I'm sorry, basically my point, if a young white boy came to me and said, 'Biggs, I like your hair and I want that,' I should be happy because I got something he wants." Which I think is where I'm going to leave this. Do let me know what you think about cultural appropriation in the comments, and the term blackfishing. It is relevant. I thought we'll start with cultural appropriation though and just segue into it as we progressed. Ta-ta.